who should use our solution. And you know, in Africa, the Ministry of Justice currently on digitalizing all the procedure to issue ID document. So these challenges is to identify the citizen who is on front of the screen. This citizen is really the person who is saying he it is. So the challenges was to link with the um, government ID authority and be able to certify that when one citizen log and download his, let's say, birth document and all this information, we as Sala District, we can identify this person and be sure that this citizen is really who he is trying to say that he is this. Thank you.
Ok. Vou fazer a mesma pergunta à doutora Rosália, né? Os principais desafios, trabalha com cibersegurança também, os principais desafios enfrentados na gestão da identidade visual, porque estamos a falar de dados pessoais principalmente.
Eu diria que antes de falarmos de dados,
I will say that when we talk about personal information, we are talking about people. The phenomenon of cybersecurity starts before it starts in a way on a smartphone. It starts with you use the apps at my work. It starts with the way how I share information. And before we reach technology, there is a very important situation. It has to be with literacy, which is fundamental. And probably all of us, we have been here in Rwanda. We wanted to take a document to social security or to the bank, or we've got a colleague that works in an agency, and we know the person there, and okay, we say, okay, it can you print this paper that I need an urgence to give to AGT, for example. And for example, if this place where I've asked to do this printing, if it was a bank, for example, it was a bank agent, this person that is attending us with a goodwill takes and calls and connects to the computer and does the printing. But if I am someone with enough knowledge to enter in that system, forgive my expression, it was already the person. But first of all, before we go to technology, is the person that's there to say that we have got this to print, but unfortunately for security purpose, I cannot do after the feedback. And that is the technology. So the politics, security, they can, for example, reject that equipment and inside of the systems of the organization, those mechanisms that may allow to limit the impact of this happening. So it happens that not only the literacy for this subject that has to come, but the preparation of the organizations for these events also has to increase. Do you believe that cybersecurity has to also enter? I think that without exception, all the people should have access of those contents, literacy for cybersecurity and its application before we arrive to our work. Its applications, the way that the banks so many times they send us information to say, look, there is attention, there is this attack. If you receive this information, do not charge on those links. How many of them have already paid attention to those messages? The way that this information, as we were taught to have those security behavior, there are already institutions that they do because they are more targeted with more frequency. But just to finish this very important, connected with this question, it has to do with literacy of the final users of the technology. We are talking of teams and skills that all well, it's scarce, and in Angola also scarce. These companies, the smallest to the bigger ones, there is a need of competence so that those politics that needs to be implemented, the risk plan, so that the companies may not stop working, it has to be developed. So if it was to 10 companies, small or big, or maybe from Portugal, Angolan, from Mozambique, if we see the level of the attention that is they just look into the companies, you're gonna see that the answers they are variable. The transition or digital transformation, it is on three fundamental pillars: government, companies, and people. Engineer Mena, what's your vision? What's your vision on these three pillars? How do you see? Where are we? Just to reinforce what Rosario was saying, what has to do with the conceptualization and education, as in Mr. Engineer, who do you think that should actually sensibilize more, or government or private ones? All in this way, all everyone. It is the responsibility for everyone. The government has got its part and is going to do its part, but the companies also and the civil society also, they've got their responsibility. What is your reality, Sally, in Cote d'Ivoire, on what has to do with this situation?
The reality as the same currently in Cote d'Ivoire. As you know, more and more companies and administration are in the flow of digitalization. So it means that it comes with all the challenges and all the solution we have. In Cote d'Ivoire, actually, since last year, the government launched a program of digitalization of all the administration, including social inclusion. So all this program and development involve a kind of how should we educate people, how should we educate companies, private and public, how should we educate all the citizens to be sure that all the data we are having online, all the data we are sharing, and in the other hand, all the data the administration or the company are having inside their system is realistic, and then we are safe of all the attacker. Because as you know, I can share, as Rosalia was saying at the beginning, I can share one photo or my professional email somewhere, but it is not really safe. Someone can get it, and most of this information is now available in the dark web, and no, everyone can get them and use them in the wrong way. So we need to pay attention on what we are doing. It is important to digitalize. Government are doing this, company are doing this, but what are we doing to be sure that our information are safe where they are?
Obrigado, Sally. Aproveitando o que disse, diz-me.
Thank you, Sally, and say until how can we share our personal information for our identity, personal identity?
Até que ponto?
What information can we share in the internet for our personal identity?
In the internet, we can find a compilation of information. We can categorize them in two ways. The digital attribute.
Please, can you approach the mic? Thank you.
That of birth, like when I share a resume on internet, we can give my date of birth. Or we can share also information, bank details information. These are kind of information we can share on the internet. But in the other hand, what we find more and more actually is what we call activities we share on social network, like Facebook. We can comment, we can like, we can share selfie. So all this information are available on internet, and everyone can get them and use them in the wrong way.
Ok. Nós teremos.
Well, we will have more development if we collaborate. That's why I've shared 3 pillars of development on the digital world. Dr. Rosalia, do you believe that, or what is your vision for the role of the government? And I also have with Dr. Mena or Engineer Mena, what is your point about the private companies? Well, the role of government in one hand, the government has a lot of points to manage in terms of economy and electricity, telecommunication, and there's a lot of infrastructure so that the country can work. And for this hand, on this side is important. Well, will not only be the Ministry of Telecommunication, and telecommunication will not only be the Ministry of Justice, will not be one ministry. What I propose is a collaboration, a very close collaboration between the institution, so that what is the main role for the government is to define what is the policies and what are the goals and what are the tools that we have to be, or that need to be available, so to elaborate and until where we have to go to have the cybersecurity in the country, and what are the musts for the people. And this is a work that needs to be collaborated, and we also have to know that the government as a very or more complex role, and the legislation and the punishment and everything need to be very organized. And and the companies they have to abide with the law, and the Ministry of Education also has a big role here, and in order um, to propose in a university, and
May there be moments that those subjects are also talk and they also actually announce it is very complex in a way that it develops so quick as the technology also that we're using. It's not also an easy task for us, for the government, and it is a way that we have to be working because naturally the companies a company that develops specified softwares on the cybersecurity and that's got a certain area. It doesn't have to do with software, but is connected to cybersecurity. For example, training as technological companies, we also should be called to collaborate in this exercise as it should be. So, Mrs. Director, how are we in terms of policies? If it is possible, you can also talk about the general law. As you've said, the key word it is cooperation, collaboration. That the government does policies and it creates, and as on our sector, we are having companies that will be materializing those policies. There's a need of working with the private sector so that we can, we all can materialize those policies because the sector itself, by itself alone, will not be able to create or to implement all those measures that are created by him. So there is the need of cooperation. There is already cooperation. The Ministry of it has been looking to diverse policies, and we have been also working with partners because alone we shall not go far. We have to work all together so that we may create those policies, so that we can materialize those policies, so that we can create those goals that the ministers got the responsibility to do. That's why among many we are looking, for example, the situation on the speech of the president just mentioned the cybersecurity, and the minister also show up, and we've got also a private company as a partners that will be also materialized so that we can have this system. The key word here is collaboration. The ministry doesn't do everything. We have to all work. That's why the ministry has got the open door, has been receiving certain institutions that have got the potential also to give, and talking about the subject, the digital identity, it is also to do with privacy. When we talk about privacy, we also talk about the protection of data. For example, the country's got an agency was created, and we've got this agency, we've got this legislation of protection of data, so that for the protection of personal data, and for all of us, that's the need that companies have to see themselves on the policies and on production of data. Just before you add, I will just ask so that we're gonna make more interactive. If someone has got a question while they are talking, you can just raise your hand and we can also give over to you. This law of protection of data is very important, but doesn't hinder me to, for example, to share my informations on social media. It's very important. Yes, this protection, this law. Yes, it's very. There are other mechanisms, reports that we already have in Angola, but it's not the law of protection that shares that will hinder for me to share my information to the social media.
Sally, quais são as consequências?
What are the consequences of the counterfeit of digital identity, and how can we fight it?
Today, the problem of the digital identity is the difference with the reality. If in the real world, if I want to book a hotel or book a car, I can go with some document and physically they identify me. In the digital world, when I come with some document online and submit or log on an account, the system in front or behind in the back office, it is limited to identify who is in front. So it means that we can face frequently some identity restore, and it can be very dangerous because it starts small, but it can go higher. It can start by bank information. When we store my bank information, it go with we lose money, and we can get some credit on my name, and so on. It's going to go very far. And another problem is when we come to the real identity. If someone do some crime and let's say say that I am Sali Ouattara, and it can go by selling some drug on the internet, and this is very, very high in level of crime. So we may pay attention on what we are sharing, because the effect is very big on our life. And some standard approach like password and logging are very easy to be stolen, because some standard approach like password is based on what you know. I know my password, or what you what you know is, it means some secret question like a nickname of mother, and what you have is my password, and this information is frequently stolen in the internet and can lead to digital identity, which is counterfeit. Thank you.
On the digital, it is a real problem, and it is happening. How do we fight? This is a simple question for a very difficult answer to give. That's what my colleague was saying. What we build online, it is something that's different. Something it is for us to share, to choose the information that we share, and also it's important to understand that when we share the information, are we creating a reputation for us? Maybe we are good, we are beautiful. It is a digital reputation that we're creating. We can create a blog with the name that's not for us, and we are creating a reputation with all that we say and we publish, and we are managing a species, a kind of a repertoire on that name that apparently it is true, and we are even able to consult that information and to speak about that person that does not exist as if we know the person, but that's not true. So I also want to say before I answer to your question, there are few mechanisms that will hinder, so that will avoid for us to have identity copy or stolen. what has to be done with what we spoke until now, the way that we behave in a digital environment, our life, what we decide to share online, and the other has to do with the reporting. Sometimes there are certain governmental mechanisms. For example, if a person shares certain things, it has to do with tourism, human trafficking, and there is already mechanism on Angolan legislation that this uh, having this reporting on what has to do with identity. It has to do with our behavior. So what we can do, it to is not every time with success. It is to understand that our identity was stolen, or our profile was copied, or someone else accessed our accounts and is taking all the money that we have. We have to report. And also, I know already that all the persons that are here, or they've got the initials of the kids, or the birthday date of the elder son, or the city where you stay, or your favorite place. It's not what we would like to have. This makes easy for those who would like to steal. First, they start with those measures and having knowledge. And unfortunately, someone has decided to steal our identity. We have to report. And if there were more complex situations, there are mechanism on law that allows, so that if I had to open an account on any social network, what do you recommend for me to share? I don't recommend you to share anything. I will share nothing. We can discuss here a lot about if it is correct or it is wrong to share certain things, but the decision of being right or wrong, it has to be with my motivations. For example, if I am a sport and it's natural that I share and I do some posts, it has to do with my activity. For example, if I am an influencer, I will share other things. It's not with my eyes. With the posts that I've got, that I'll decide that those ones are right and those ones are wrong. It's not for me. It's not for me to say the people what they can do. Something you have to be sure. Pictures of the kids, pictures of innocence on our eyes. They should not be. You should not share. If you go on holidays, many cases of people. Some people, they are jealous because I'm in Caribbean on holidays, and next week when you arrive, the house is empty. There are certain things, and I don't criticize the person that has decided to share that information, but it happens that the person is is going through a risk, and it may not be very important, but in some cases it can be very important. For example, in Mozambique, for example, there were a lot of kidnapping of people, and the way that those people knew where they are, it was through social media. And the other side, also social media is help, also through the same share of many information, also has allowed it to advance with the investigation. That's to say that it's not offensive to share information. It is rare to share information. No, we should always have in consideration the risk that we are going through and information that we share. Social media networks not a demon that will damage our life. It's like drinking beer. If you drink more beer, it's not going to be good. So that's just to say that this situation that we say we can share, but we just have to share what's necessary. There are certain sensible data that does not need to be shared. For example, as I can place, for example, my name. I don't need to put my full name. For example, uh, your ID, your identification tax number is not to be shared. You share what's needed, and that's what I said on the sensibilization of education, that we have to be all sensibilized, and we have to come out from here, and we know that that's something, the privacy of data, and I've got something to keep. I was saying here at the beginning that on the ministry we start with the program or the school level to sensitize the society, and we go to school, and those we've got those workshops. What do they have to do? And there's been many questions on from the users, from the students, and it has been very grateful. For example, they want to work, and from them there's also a message to be shared. We learn this. We should not share our information, all those sensible data, and that is the situation of sensibilization. Just to give a question. Name, question. Good afternoon, I'm Wilson. My question is as follow. To share and to not to share. There are certain platforms that it is compulsory to share, to scan the ID. If you don't scan, it will not be. It will not. How is there on this state a certain department that controls the content that is on these platforms, or how do you validate those platforms? Okay, that is interesting. Looking to one of the measures, one of the advices that we have been passing here, it is to see actually the state of this platform, if it is some trustable. We can also give, because my datas are given to this, and this platform has got, and this platform has got to protect it stays there between 6 months or something like this, and if those data, for example, they've been deviated, that is the situation of protection, because those data were given to this platform and now they've been also shared. Now we can also share with those platform with reputation. So if the data were deviated, we've got these agents of protection of data that's going to have the right section to this company that has collected our information. Miss Sally, what's your experience in Cote d'Ivoire on this situation?
Now we are working with often with the authority in charge of regulation of protection of data and all this. The main important point is if we come on sharing or not sharing is if I have a platform, data I am collecting is really needed for what I want to do. It means that if I want to, let's say, book a car, they want to collect data from me. These data are needed for what, for booking a car or not. I mean, if they ask me the driver license ID, okay. If they ask me for some other information regarding how many kids I have or plus, it is not needed. So the government authority should help the citizen and put some rule that all the companies that are developing one application should collect the data they need. This is for professional or let's say services. But if it come on social media, this is the responsibility of the person to share what.
Então, eu quero dizer que
Security question, and security question could be the pet name, my pet name. And on Instagram, we can find some photo of this pet with the name of, so it is available. This information is available. So um, it is important for everyone, citizen, company, government, to be sure that we are working together to protect what we have. The real world is not problematic. What is problematic in complex is the digital, because everyone can do everything. And to me, the solution today could be moving to the biometric solution, because it is more secure than what we are seeing, logging mode, logging password or key, this kind of credential. Thank you.
Isso faz-me lembrar.
This remembers me once I tried to install a scanner of a document on my phone and was asking. The app wants to access your contact list. The app wants to access your microphone. The app wants to access. It is so many things that we should pay a lot of attention. We should pay a lot of attention. We have another question there. There's a question, and after this question, we shall come back here to the panel. Good afternoon. My question is, the mic is not okay. The volume is very low. We just have to check with the technicals. Esse micro aí está muito baixo.
Leva o contacto da instituição, então fica numa aplicação. Mas por outro lado, tem o caso que é, se não partilhares o teu dado, tu tens o isolamento do mundo, tens o isolamento da rede social, tens o isolamento de serviços ou de produtos. E ali fica a sensibilidade, o que partilhar e o que não partilhar. E a nível da segurança, vem aí o caso do regulador. Enquanto regulador, por exemplo, há casos que nós estamos a receber telefonemas de outros países, países da região. Às vezes a pergunta é, como é que é possível que eles tenham acesso aos nossos contactos, e às vezes de forma muito repetitiva, e da mesma de operadora específica, quando às vezes nós não partilhamos. Também é o caso de às vezes as instituições que nós partilhamos os nossos contactos ou seguem ou vendem a terceiros ou têm contratos de parceria de serviço com terceiros e disponibilizam a outras empresas.
And they give to other companies, so our contracts they're exposed in will be responsible. How do we solve those problems when it comes to legal damage? What you've said, we have to start with the CRM of the company. Certainly that if I want to contact a client, I should have a form. If I've got the supply, I have to certify my supplies. It is normal that I keep this information so that I can lead my business. And it doesn't mean that all collaborators they need this information to do their task, and this is any privileged data. So it is also to say that it is the responsibility of all the companies to not have only mechanisms that avoid the proliferation of this information inside the organization, but it is the responsibility of the organization to understand the risk that's having if this collaborator is going to leave the company, what's going to happen with the information. There are mechanisms as the is confidentiality, that or privacy, that will make me that I cannot hinder that you are there taking pictures. If you've got access to pictures, I cannot hinder. What I can do, it is, I'm saying this because no, not the regulations, not even technology solves all the problems. It doesn't solve all the problems. So the risk still there. And you are photographed because you're already planning to go and use that information that was available information somewhere else, and other industry that a photograph is something that he will have access to have his daily tasks, and then he publishes. And it is also the responsibilities to have mechanisms to identify those happening, and also to inform the entities so that they can actually work on that on this sense. Do you believe that this call comes from outside to you? It is because your cell phone number was hacked by a certain network. I don't believe in this. I receive a lot of calls, but I know that my cell phone number, it is many places, and I, as a partner that I want to sell, my cell phone number is all over. From the moment that I've done this on my first day, it's finished. You will not be able to control what's happened with that information that I've shared to with that purpose. And this information, it is available for everyone to consult. Okay, I don't believe, I've got a lot of difficulties to believe that they call you from outside, because your number has been in a list, or probably you gave your cell phone number to a certain activity, and he looked where he not where he not supposed. So there was also the situation that before this, how many people we've got all those that accept all. Have you already been reading to see what you're accepting? I recommend that you read. This is a very important point on what has to do with social isolation. This situation of digital identity is not only bad, it's not only bad things, but for example, tell me, how the digital identity is influencing the social interaction and the personal relationship, because we are running out of time. For example, COVID, our digital presentation was never important in history of the world as during COVID time. So as avoided that there may be some breakage of communication. COVID, it is the certainty, it is the evidence that our digital presence is important. The way that we are present is the way that we have pay attention. How the digital identity affects those economic disparity or differences.
We are connected more, our activity on the internet, online will grow. So there are many differences regarding where we are. For example, in Cote d'Ivoire, the digital inclusion is very different regarding if we are in big city or if we are in the village. access to internet. So the digital identity is it is not only by team. It is mandatory to is to access easily to some services like mobile money, banking, government services. All this is needed and recommended to continue growing in our economy. So private company and government need to involve everyone in how accessing internet, how creating this digital identity, this digital presence, and also in the same time how to protect it. Both things go together. We can't put our effort to develop our economy based on some digital services. I mentioned some of one financial part, and forget the private part and the security part. So both of them are going together, and we need to pay attention that our digital presence is important. We need it, and we should always thinking how we can secure it. It could be by the government can take the lead on it and using some kind of trusted authority who may create some digital wallet, some digital identity we can reuse for many accounts or many services. So to me, it is the solution.
Okay.
We should centralize with a trusted authority, and everyone can have his digital wallet and then access all the services we need, and it may increase our trust and our confidence on online services. Thank you.
Okay. Antes da minha última pergunta, queria saber se tem alguém com uma questão.
Well, I would like to have if someone has a question. Well, a very straightforward question. If you can indicate a person that will answer.
My question has to do with until which extent it is
The message that we receive from companies, the sound is very low. I cannot hear clearly. Until which point can we consider it as invasion of our privacy if we share all our information when we are looking jobs? We share our emails and our contact number for the companies to contact us. Before we go to the hosts, before, and Sister Rosalia has said, and when we have to put that tick down on the platform and all those information that we accept. I would like to know in 1 minute if someone can answer this question. Well, first I want to know if you are resisting a lot in the sites of recruitment. Well, the companies of telecommunication, they are not responsible to what we do with the service that they offer. So in the high level, in this case of messages that operators that send messages to clients, so we usually receive a lot of messages on our phones, and those are information of public utility. So those messages do not need authorization because the state is information situations, and on the other hand we send messages, and we also receive messages about cybersecurity, and we interact with the Inacom, and Inacom will send to Unitel, and those are information of public utility, and in order to inform the population, and those are information that we receive from personal people that asking for us to register. And if you regarding the public information, those are information that are authorized by the government, and the company cannot intervene. Well, it's just a commentary. There are stores where we have to resist ourselves, and they start to send us a lot of marketing message. We have promotion here, we have promotion over there. So we received it because we have given our cell phone number, but the regulator could help us in order to have to unsubscribe, because for example on the email we can do that, we can unsubscribe ourselves, but on the supermarkets, well, to finalize, the digital transformation has changed the way we live and the way we interact. In 1 minute, I think how the digital identity can change the world the way we know. Well, if we look to the world 2 centuries before, we will understand that the 100% of technology that we have today, but we are here a million years, and the evolution is very short. In a very short period of time we evolved a lot, and since the internet and since the solutions and facilities and very our work on digital world, if we can look to it, if 10 years ago, for example, if we used to be very worried about this, if we're very worried with this or very willing to accept this, well, we were very willing to be involved without looking to the danger of it. So our life is very digital, and it's been more digital, and in one sense it's not wrong, but we have to look to the danger that we are facing in the way we deal ourselves on the digital world. Just to say that the digital transformation is a fact, and Angola has to give the first steps, and the idea is the country is looking to looking to the public sector, and we have to digitalize the society. And these are the steps that Angola is taking in order to transform the digital in order to share the society.
It will be more and more complicated to protect our digital identity. Nowadays, digitalization is everywhere. It is routine, but it is going very fast, and the regulation and the rules are not flowing at the right speed. And it is not only for digitalization of services. We heard today about AI. Someone can take my picture and do what he wants with it, and it is very complicated to prove that it is not me, and so on, and it goes further. So the government and the public authority should take their responsibility and help the citizen to be sure that what we are doing in terms of digitalization services are good, but what we can do to help all of us to be sure that we are protected in the real world and we are protected in the digital world.
Ok. Muito obrigado, senhoras e senhores. Penso que não tem
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. I think there's nothing to be answered. And we were here with the Miss Watara, and Dr. Diantomena and Rosalia Rodrigues. We talked about digital identity. And thank you for everyone. And
biométrique. Biométrique.
Da Glosscosmo para também.
Isso aqui, da falsa identidade, não é? Por exemplo, há um